Whether you like this character a lot and want to invest in him, or you're a furry who's never played a gacha game before and you want to build a big daddy bear, I'm here to make sure you guys know where to get started and how to optimize your builds afterwards. I've been seeing a lot of guides on this character, however most of them are either telling you to focus on the wrong stats or just flat out incorrect in terms of team synergy and W engine usage. So, we're going to take a look at Ben's entire kit and I'm going to tell you how you can build him depending on what you have. This includes a full breakdown of his moveset, skills, cinemas, and potential teams. So sit back, grab some caviar, and relax as I take you through an extensive guide on how to play Ben bigger. Ben is a fire defense unit who is a part of the Bellabog Heavy Industries faction. He specializes in providing shields for himself and his teammates, while also doing insane damage from his counterattack. While his basic attacks are slower than most characters, they have a significant amount of range to them and are very good at hitting multiple enemies, also accumulating days with the ending part of his combo. These attacks deal physical damage. His dash attack is a multi-hitting strike forward that can juggle airborne enemies and can be cancelled into itself or any other move. His dodge counter is a massive slam down attack that gives him iframes and deals fire damage. This is the same move as his quick assist. And his defensive assist is a massive rush forward that deals fire damage. This also gives him iframes. His skill plants down his weapon. Letting go of his skill unleashes a strike forward. If this is his normal skill with no meter, he'll slash with his claws and deal physical damage. If this is his EX skill with meter, he'll strike forward with his pillar and deal fire damage. If you perfect parry this skill, it'll do massive damage regardless of which version it is. You can also hold this skill down to continue countering. Doing so gives him a shield that's equal to 16% of his HP. The shield disappears after releasing the skill and will regenerate over time. However, it won't exceed the maximum threshold, so you can't spam it to keep gaining shields. His core passive allows him to grant shields to his teammates after an EX follow-up attack. The shield is equal to 25% of his defense plus a flat 500, which lasts for 30 seconds. If there's a teammate that shares an element or faction with him, while those shields from the follow-up are active, his crit rate increases by 16%. His chain attack just deals massive fire AoE damage, and his ultimate is pretty much the same thing. Ben also has pair-up attacks with Coleta if they're on the same team. However, the damage calculations are taken from Coleta's numbers rather than a combination of both characters. Now that we've gotten his moveset out of the way, let's take a look at what W engine we should be aiming for on him. The number one pick for this character's W engine will be his signature, the Big Cylinder. This weapon was quite literally made for him and complements his playstyle perfectly. Not only does it give him a good chunk of defense bonus, but it also gives him built-in damage reduction and a guaranteed crit hit upon being hit. The cool thing is that the crit hit does not need to be tied to the counter. You can get hit by any attack and the next attack will still be a guaranteed crit. So, for example, if one of the lesser enemies are shooting you from a distance, the next attack will crit regardless of what you're doing. You don't have to be an EX counter, you don't have to be a normal counter, whatever hit you receive, like whatever sort of damage you receive, it could be minimal, it could be major, your next hit will be a guaranteed crit hit. As for potential S-rank engines, I doubt any future defense W engines will be better for him, but we'll have to wait and see if they make an S-rank defense unit down the line. And if you somehow don't own Big Cylinder, then any other A-rank defense engine will work for the time being. I'd say to run either Bunny Band or Original Transmorpher, but you should absolutely put his signature on if you own it. Mindscape cinemas are the effects you can gain when you pull extra copies of a character. Ben's M1 gives him a 30% damage reduction against the enemy he blocks for 15 seconds. His M2 is arguably his best one, giving him an extra 300% damage to his counter that scales off of his defense. M3 and M5 are basic stat increases to his moveset, while M4 gives him 30% more damage on his counter after perfect parry. And his final Mindscape gives him 20% more days buildup on all basic actions for 12 seconds. Disk drives are the relics of this game. The build will depend on what team you plan to put him in and what purpose you want him to serve. After looking at his entire kit though, you really only have 3 options for disk drive sets. An absolute mandatory option though is the 2 pieces of the Soul Rock set. He scales off a defense and he really benefits from having as much of it as possible. Now for the 4 piece, you can either go one of 2 ways. I personally go with the 4-piece Inferno Medal since I have Soldier 11, Coleta, and Lucy. This allows him to gain an additional 28% to his crit rate when hitting burned enemies. And when you add this with his synergy passive, he gets a free 34% crit rate. Now, my Ben currently has a 17% base crit rate, and altogether with the perfect conditions lining up, he only reaches 51%. However, with the W engine always guaranteeing a crit if he gets hit, I decided to focus more on crit damage substats and defense bonus subsets, so that the shields he gives would be thicker and the crits he would land would be beefier. Now for the main stats you want to look for on the 4, 5, and 6 pieces, you want to go for crit damage or crit rate on 4, defense bonus on 5, and either defense bonus or fire damage bonus on 6. The substats would consist of either crit damage, defense bonus, and attack bonus too. Ultimately, the 4-piece fire set is really good for him, and I would definitely recommend it, especially if you have someone like Soldier 11. The other set that you can use on him is the 4-piece Shockstar Disco set. The main stats would be the same, but instead of the second defense bonus on 6, you go for an impact main stat. The substats can also incorporate impact stats too. With Ben's basics being very AoE focused, the stun set can help him build up a lot of days on plenty of enemies quickly, and make him work like a makeshift Coleta for those of you that don't have her yet. Ben's team synergy is pretty simple. He serves as a tanky fire sub DPS or stunner that can help tank damage and toss it back at the enemy. His best team, by far, is with Soldier 11 and Coleta. Coleta benefits from the iframes the pair-up attacks give her, and 11 is insane at dishing out fire damage, so you'll find yourself burning enemies quite often with this team. If you don't have Coleta, then Ben can take her role as a stunner on the Shockstar set while subbing in Lucy for more fire support. And while he doesn't work well in them, disorder teams for Ben do exist, Grace and Coleta being the best option for that. If you didn't pull any of these S ranks mentioned and you're probably saving for someone else, Piper and Lucy are Ben's best bet as the best free-to-play friendly team for him. Anton does not synergize well with Ben despite being from the same faction. He more so benefits from having someone like Grace or Rena on his team. And while you can put Ben on those teams and have him just chuck up shields, he really shines when he's with other fire units. And last but not least, the Bang Boos you want to run with him are either Safety or Rocket Boo for the S ranks and Cry Boo for the A rank. Overall, I'm seeing a lot of people say that Ben sucks, people saying that he's like lower tier and whatnot. I personally don't think so. Me, this is just like, you know, the bias speaking. I've had a lot of fun with him. He deals a lot of good damage. Ultimately, it just comes down to who you build him with, how you build him, like your luck with your pulls and whatnot. You can make any character in this game good if you hard invest into them. That goes the same way with most of these gacha games. And if you want to make Ben good, then this is probably the best way to do it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to leave a like below and comment any other potential builds that you have for Ben and what you're working on with him. And who knows, maybe I'll make more guides for other characters in the future. But yeah, my name's Rari Rune, and I'm out of here.